New York Harbor, and one of the most famous, iconic landmarks on planet Earth, the Statue of Liberty. I've been to America many times, and to New York many times, and I love the place. Basically, I don't like everything about it, but I love coming here, and I've always gotten very well with many of the people, most of the people that I've come across. But coming this time, as soon as I landed in America, in San Francisco, through to Cleveland and down to New York, I've just felt a different America, a much more anxious America, a more fearful America, and certainly walking around New York City with the protests at Wall Street and everything, it is a very much more than ever before police state America. When I first came here in the 1990s, I was taken aback by the number of police with guns there were, and park police that carried guns. It was like, what's going on? But that was as nothing compared with the police state that America is becoming. Indeed, the world is becoming, but America is certainly leading the way. And America, you know, for me, is such a mass of contradictions. It's so topsy-turvy in so many ways. And even the Statue of Liberty, it on one level has this image, obviously, of being about liberty, about being the flame of liberty. But it was given to New York by French Freemasons in Paris that realized and knew very clearly what it really represented. There's a mirror image of the Statue of Liberty on an island in the River Seine in Paris, and it is the goddess of Babylon, the ancient goddess worshipped by the Illuminati bloodlines that I've been exposing all these years, the bloodline families that are behind this global control system that is behind the kind of police state, emerging Orwellian state that I've just been talking about. And thus, we have an iconic image representing freedom when it represents the ancient goddess of the Illuminati, going back to ancient Babylon and that whole ancient period. And if you look at the way the goddess was depicted, it had the spikes around the head, just like the Statue of Liberty. And the sun god, probably when you look at it, probably the Saturn god of Babylon was Nimrod, and Nimrod was depicted as a flame or a lighted torch, held of course by the Statue of Liberty. And the lighted torch is one of the great symbols of this Illuminati bloodline network. And when I look at America, I see so many other topsy-turvy, it seems to be one thing when it's another. Just over there is the emerging Freedom Tower on the site of the World Trade Center. And it's the Freedom Tower. It's about a representation of freedom, when actually it's being built on land where the two towers stood, that were brought down by this very network in an engineered fake terrorist attack. It was a terrorist attack. We're not the kind that they're telling us it was. And that event on 9/11 has been used to dramatically delete freedom in this country through the Patriot Act and the Orwellian state in general that's been justified by that event and others that have followed. What has been justified is a global war on terror in which vast numbers of people, mostly with brown faces, innocent civilians and children, have been slaughtered, justified by the need to react to a terror event just down the way from here, which was actually engineered by the very forces that are now telling us and have told us that they have to go and invade this country, invade that country, and delete our freedoms to save us from the people that did that, when they were the people who did that, along with Mossad. And British intelligence would have been in there somewhere. It usually is. And a couple of things that I've noticed since I came to America, and one of them was like brought to mind this week. And there are two of the major programs that hold this country in servitude and have since its creation. One is the the God program, where, of course, the early settlers were the Puritans, you know, the Puritans, no laughing, no dancing, no music, no nothing. And that religious program, starting in the early days, right at the start, has come through and dominates the psyche of so many people in this country. It saddens me. I mean, people might not like this, but, you know, speak your truth and take it as you will. But it saddens me to see how the Christian program, especially the extreme Christian program, has gripped the minds of so many black people in this country. When it was the very religion of the slave owners that was imposed upon the slaves as part of the process of suppressing them and bringing them, you know, in control and servitude. And now I see evangelical black ministers and preachers who seem to have learned the art of preaching from the same preacher school, because they all deliver it in the same way, that are Bible bashing and bashing a religion and promoting a religion that helped to enslave the people that were brought over from Africa and so on. I find that so sad, that the control system of the slave owners has been taken over by the people that come from the former slaves. But there's another one, and I've been aware of this since I was a kid, funnily enough, a long time ago. And it came to mind again this week when I was interviewed by someone. I didn't have a very nice experience with him, but I was interviewed by someone who reminded me very, very much of this other program. I call it the John Wayne program. And John Wayne, for people who are much younger than me, was, again, an iconic movie actor in this country. And again, one of contradiction and topsy-turviness, because John Wayne became a war hero in this country, and a national hero in this country, particularly a war hero, because he specialized in cowboy movies and war hero movies. He became a war hero while never hearing or seeing a gunshot in anger. While the young people of America were the other side of this ocean, getting killed and killing others in real combat, things like the D-Day landings and so many other combats in Europe in the Second World War. John Wayne was on a movie set in Hollywood having makeup put on before his next scene, and yet he became the symbol of America, as so many people have been programmed to see America. And this is very, very, very important, I would suggest, to so much that's been allowed to happen, and so much that has happened, justified and supported by this John Wayne mentality I'm talking about. John Wayne played basically one character in different situations, usually with a cowboy hat on or a military uniform. He was the good guy. This was the persona. He was the tough, strong, tough guy, but with a heart of gold. He was the man who was coming in, the tough, heart of gold, man of justice and fairness, who was coming in to sort out the bad guys. And that, take that to what we're seeing today, and what we've seen decade after decade after decade. Because I hear American politicians and other people in America talk about America standing for peace. America does not stand for peace. Vast numbers of Americans do, individually. But as a country, as a unit, it does not stand for peace. If you put into Google American wars since 1776, and you look at the list of them to present day, it is absolutely staggering. And far from being a government, a military of peace, it's been one of slaughter on an unbelievable scale, one of slaughter of the innocent and acquisition of resources in countries as a result of the slaughtering of the innocent. And this has been justified by the John Wayne mentality. I mean, you just look you know, go on the internet or something and look at the Obama speeches justifying the pepper bombing of Libya and sending NATO in there, dominated by the American military, the American Air Force. And you will see a John Wayne speech. This is America. We're a country of peace. We don't go into war lightly. But yes, you do, and have done decade after decade after decade. How has this been justified, and how has so many people explained it away and supported it? Because just as Obama justified the slaughter in Libya, it's been basically, we are America, brackets John Wayne. We are the tough guy. We have the big military, and we're the biggest military in the world. But we have a heart of gold. We only want to help people. We only want to protect civilians from these bad guys. We're going in there to sort the bad guys out. Oh, if only John was here now. He is. John Wayne was supposed to have died in 1979. The program that is John Wayne, that is such a, still today, a massive manipulator of the national psyche and the national perception and self-identity of America, is still there, almost as powerful as ever. Instead of going in with his gun and his cowboy hat and going in, you know, is it the Green Berets and all that stuff? The Green Berets was a John Wayne film. You know, go into YouTube and put the Green Berets in, and you'll see the title music sung by apparently a Green Beret, and you'll see the most sickening, grotesque, ridiculously inaccurate portrayal of Green Berets that you'll ever come across. Because this is what it is, you see. I still see it today. I see this, oh, he's a Navy SEAL, he's a Green Beret, he's a Marine. They kill people, don't they? Don't they kill people? And oh no, but they don't just kill people, they kill people to sort the bad guys out. Well, there must be a lot of bad guys in the world, because there's a lot of them been sorted out over the years. And that John Wayne mentality that sees the strong guy going in with a gun, the Rambo, the Rocky, and all these people, the Schwarzenegger. This is all, or are all, expressions of this John Wayne mentality that still has this grip on so many in this country. It's breaking away, it's fracturing, hallelujah to that, but it's still vastly there. And it justifies the most appalling actions against innocent, often defenseless people around the world. And it's happening more and more now, because it's not really slaughter. John Wayne never killed anybody, really, except the bad guys. He was only doing it for fight for good. And that's the way that so many see the American military and the grotesque history it has. Not of protecting people, not of saving the world, but of taking the world down a road, a dark, dark road of mass human slaughter, destruction, and conquest. And so, when you come to America, you meet so many nice people. And it's an incredible country in so many ways. But it's being systematically destroyed, militarily and financially, to bring it under the heel of a world government dictatorship. If you want a world government dictatorship and you want control of the planet over every country and every people, you cannot have superpowers with the financial and military might to say no to you. So ironically, while we're seeing this slaughter, while we're seeing all these wars of conquest, we're seeing the country that's set up to be the fall guy doing them, because, you know, so many of the guns shot by America, symbolically and literally, are actually loaded in Europe with the center of this global secret society network. So America is being used to destroy itself. And, you know, every year, if you add in all the costs of the American military, all the hidden costs, this country, when people increasingly are living in tent cities, are losing their homes, are losing their jobs, are losing their livelihoods, this country is spending in excess of $1 trillion a year on the military and overseas acts of slaughter and conquest. And surely it's time, surely before this process is complete, this delusion is complete, that Americans in vast numbers look collectively in the mirror as a nation and say, hold on, have we been had here? Are we really the good guy, John Wayne, sorting out the bad guys? Or are we just using that program to justify the most outrageous, stomach-turning mass murder that is getting more and more blatant all the time? Because until these programs, the God program and the John Wayne program, are deleted and diluted, so many Americans will go on being manipulated to support action that ironically is designed to destroy the country they think they stand for, and to destroy the economy and the military that they thought was the strongest in the world. America is bankrupt. It's absolutely bankrupt. And until people start to realize that it's all been systematically done, then the job will be completed. I know some people might not like what I've said. Really, I don't mind, I don't care. I'm not here to win a popularity contest. I just want to say something because I think it needs saying. That is an illusion, and everything that's followed it has been an illusion in the sense of the self-identity of America as it's been programmed to Americans to believe in. And until we kind of take a step back and redefine self-identity of America and see what the game really is, persuading the people that America is the good guy, John Wayne, so that Americans will support this grotesque nonsense and mass killing, then, like I say, the job will be completed. It doesn't have to be. It's still our choice, but only just.
Kennedy would have been 81 today, instead of which he was killed in one of the most famous political assassinations of modern American history. A Palestinian man, Sirhan Sirhan, was seized, charged, tried and convicted. Nearly 40 years on, he's still in jail, repeatedly denied parole. The violent deaths of prominent people, whether they be Bobby Kennedy's brother JFK or even Diana, Princess of Wales, routinely attract conspiracy theories. But that wasn't uppermost in the mind of Shane O'Sullivan when he began to look into the assassination. There's some strong language in his film.
One thing is clear in this year of 1968. I believe in this country as I traveled across, and that is that the American people want no more Vietnams. In August in Chicago, the Democratic Party will nominate its candidates for President of the United States. There are two roads to that nomination. One is to seek commitments through discussions with political leaders. The other is to go to the people.
June 5th, 1968, the Ambassador Hotel, Los Angeles. Bobby Kennedy wins the California Democratic primary and is tipped to beat Nixon to the White House.
I think it's quite clear is that we can work together in the last analysis, and that what has been going on within the United States over the period of the last 3 years, the divisions, the violence, the disenchantment with our society, the divisions whether it's between blacks and whites, between the poor and the more affluent, or between age groups or in the war in Vietnam, that we can start to work together. We are a great country, a selfish country, and a compassionate country. And I intend to make that my basis for running over the period of time. Mayor Yorty has just sent me a message that we've been here too long already. So, my thanks to all of you, and now on to Chicago, and let's win there.
Moments later, he is assassinated while leaving through a kitchen pantry. It's only 2 months since the assassination. The 24-year-old Palestinian Sirhan Sirhan is seen firing at Kennedy and is arrested as the lone assassin. But for nearly 40 years, debate has raged over whether a second gunman was involved. Police diagrams based on the autopsy show the fatal shot came from behind, but witnesses placed Sirhan's gun several feet in front of Kennedy.
The actual shooter of Robert Kennedy was standing behind Robert Kennedy, according to the autopsy report. Sirhan was standing in front of him, face to face. The distance between the muzzle of the assailant's weapon and Robert Kennedy's body was somewhere between actual contact and no more than 3 inches. And the weapon from which the shots were fired was held at a sharp upward angle, again from the rear. All the witnesses state Sirhan's weapon was held between 1.5 and 6 feet away from Robert Kennedy, horizontally in relation to the floor. The autopsy report exonerates Sirhan.
Behind me is the famous Ambassador Hotel where Robert Kennedy was assassinated that night. It's now a construction site, shortly to be a high school project in memory of Bobby Kennedy. I started writing a screenplay 3 years ago based on this case, fascinated by the conspiracy theories. During the course of my research, I found new video and photographs that suggest that 3 CIA operatives were at the hotel that night, and I believe involved in the assassination.
Agent number 1, the Indian man in the white shirt at the back of the room, moments after the speech and just before the shooting. I think this man is David Morales. Moments after the shooting, agent number 2, Gordon Campbell, walks from the direction of the pantry with a small container in his hand as a Latin man waves him towards an exit. 30 minutes after the shooting, here is Agent 1 again, David Morales. I also found several photographs of these agents earlier in the evening. Here, Agent 2, Gordon Campbell, stands in the ballroom hours before the shooting with a third agent. These officers worked together in 1963 at JM Wave, the CIA's Miami base for its secret war on Castro. Bradley Ayres worked with these men at JM Wave and first confirmed my identification of Morales.
This definitely, from the profile, is hugely similar. The body language is very, very much characteristic of Morales. See how he moves back and forth very casually, not to attract attention to himself? That is no question.
Bradley also recognized his former case officer, Gordon Campbell.
Yeah, that's excellent. I could certainly verify 90% ID of Gordon Campbell, and less a little hair, as I remembered him. The facial features are certainly his. Absolutely. Obviously, the children are together. They're looking for a way out because this fellow is guiding him, showing him an exit. Obviously, he's got something in his hand. I think it's impossible to determine what it is.
These men are alleged to have hated the Kennedys for withdrawing air support for the failed Bay of Pigs invasion in 1961. And Morales admitted to his ex-lawyer that he was involved in both Kennedy assassinations.
Well, it was something like, I was in Dallas when we got that motherfucker, and I was in Los Angeles when we got the little bastard. What it said to me was that he was in some way implicated with the death of John Kennedy. And let's go one step further, and also Bobby.
An interesting claim from a friend of Morales, but until now there's been no photographic evidence. I traveled to Washington to meet Wayne Smith, who worked with Morales at the U.S. Embassy in Havana in 1959. This photograph of Morales dates from the same time. Would Smith recognize Morales in the video?
David Morales. Not just the board of members.
That's David Morales.
Really?
Yeah, I'm virtually certain. Is there anything?
No, it's him again. It's him again. Yeah. And we'll see him repeated.
It's very, very much characteristic.
Yeah, I mean, turns out that's Morales. That's Morales. Yeah, I knew Morales quite well. He worked in the CIA station in Havana when I was third secretary of the political section, and got to know him fairly well, and saw him again a number of times. He came to Buenos Aires when I was political counselor down there, and we had dinner at a friend's house one evening. So I have no hesitation in saying that's Morales.
Millions of Americans are taking to the skies during this holiday travel season, but some experts continue to raise concerns about those full-body scanners being used to screen passengers. NewsHour science correspondent Miles O'Brien looks into the science behind the machines. This story was done in partnership with the online news site ProPublica.
Okay, so it's a .38, right? Snub-nose revolver. Okay, but it's heavy. All right, so I'm getting outfitted with some tools of the terrorist trade. And this is pretty much the same consistency as C4, which is plastic explosives, right? And arms up or not? This is a full-body scanner with Superman vision. Steve Smith is its inventor. It uses X-rays to see right through clothing and identify all kinds of potential threats. Critics call it an electronic strip search. Let's go back to the back room. See how I did.
Here we have a metal object in your right front pocket.
That's the wireless transmitter for the microphone.
Here we have some small metal objects in your left front pocket.
Yeah.
Metal watch band. Here we have the handgun.
Hands up and over your head.
Up and over, up and
They
over.
are called backscatter body scanners. They were widely deployed by the Transportation Security Administration at U.S. airports last year amid an uproar over the perceived privacy invasion.
The lab, and you share this lab with a lot of people.
At the University of California, San Francisco, biochemist and imaging expert John Sedat was and is concerned about the small amount of ionizing radiation from the X-rays. This is the sort of radiation that damages our DNA and can cause cancer. Sedat reached out to some colleagues.
We all became kind of concerned as to what exactly were the intensities of these X-rays. And the more questions we asked, it was clear there were fewer and fewer answers.
Even though this was the biggest change in airport security since the FAA first mandated baggage screening and metal detectors in the early 70s, the TSA conducted only limited tests on the backscatter machines, and no independent safety tests have been done at all. So the scientists wrote a letter to the President's Science Advisor, raising numerous red flags about the safety and the scientific rigor used to test the technology. Eventually, they received a 4-page response from the Food and Drug Administration,
which was in reality nothing more than a restatement of the facts that are out there, primarily coming from the company that makes these machines.
The company is called Rapiscan, based in Torrance, California. The TSA has purchased 250 of the machines so far at $180,000 apiece. Rapiscan hopes to sell the government many more machines, assuming the TSA approves a new model which replaces the privacy-stripping images with cartoonish graphics. Peter Kant is the Vice President for Government Affairs.
All right, so walk me through this. What's going on in here? So here on the left are the computers that are operating the system and its power sources.
Kant gave me an under-the-hood look at the device. This rectangular box generates an X-ray beam through a narrow slot. As it moves, a disc spins in front of the slot, creating a so-called raster scan. The X-ray beam is about the diameter of a sharpened pencil point.
So it's never on one part of the body for over 1/2000th of a second as it's moving through. If there are any changes in how fast that is moving, either faster or slower, the system automatically shuts down.
Kant claims the system is fail-safe. The X-rays penetrate only 1/4 inch into the skin. Like radar, they reflect back to detectors, which capture the images. X-rays used in the backscatter, do they raise the risk level for those who are subjected to them?
They use a small amount of X-rays as possible that we can generate, because that actually helps in the detection, having a lower power X-ray. And so it's about equivalent to eating the same level of radiation you get from eating about half a banana. The potassium in the banana is slightly radioactive.
Everyone agrees the backscatter machine is designed to emit a tiny amount of ionizing radiation. In fact, we get a much bigger dose while we are in the air. Our atmosphere is what protects us from radiation from space. The higher you go, the less protection you get. And so when you're flying at 35,000 feet, you're exposed to a lot more radiation than you are at sea level. On a typical cross-country flight, we absorb about half the radiation we would receive in a chest X-ray. The advertised radiation emitted from a backscatter scanner, about 20 to 50 microsieverts, is equivalent to the dose we get flying at 35,000 feet for about 2 or 3 minutes.
It's also true that you have more radiation, it is worse for you. If you have less radiation, it is less bad. And if you have less and less and less and less and less, you finally get to a point where any risk without radiation is just trivial, and you shouldn't be making decisions on the basis of it. And that's literally the place that body scanners operate at.
So the question is, what is the cancer risk for this individual?
David Brenner is director of the Center for Radiological Research at Columbia University Medical Center. He says the odds are 1 in 10 million people will develop cancer as a result of a backscatter scan. But when fully deployed, 1 billion travelers could pass through a backscatter machine each year.
It's a very small risk. So you and I don't have to worry about walking through these machines. But if 1,000 million people walk through these machines, it's a whole different ball game.
It's Powerball, America's #1 jackpot game.
Brenner says it's like the lottery. The odds may be long, but people still win. Brenner predicts when fully deployed, backscatter scanners could give 100 travelers cancer every year. So instead of Powerball, it's Cancer Ball?
Instead of Powerball, it's Cancer Ball, indeed. The issue is we don't need to have a cancer ball because we have alternatives which don't use X-rays.
Ball still funny?
The alternative Dr. Brenner refers to uses lower frequency millimeter waves to do the same job. Unlike X-rays, millimeter waves do not emit ionizing radiation. The TSA says the devices have the same detection capabilities. So far, the agency has deployed equal numbers of each machine.
I think they are both very, very safe.
Robin Kane is the TSA's Assistant Administrator for Security Technology.
Keeping multiple technologies in play is very worthwhile for the U.S. and getting that cost-effective solution and being able to increase the capabilities of technology because you keep everyone trying to get the better mousetrap and spiral up their capability.
But the U.S. stands nearly alone in its embrace of backscatter. European Union regulators recently banned any body scanner that uses X-rays in order not to risk jeopardizing citizens' health and safety. In the U.S., the Food and Drug Administration is responsible for approving electronic devices that emit radiation. But the agency relies solely on information provided by the manufacturers and generally does not physically test or inspect the devices. The TSA tested the devices behind closed doors without scrutiny from independent scientists. The Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory and the Army Public Health Command measured the radiation dose, but they did not address the potential impact to human health. The TSA says it is reluctant to allow a more open scientific vetting of these machines because it might undermine security.
The balance between the sharing information versus what detection capabilities are is very sensitive to us, and to be able to understand what the machine can do, is either classified information or sensitive security information. So there is less knowledge out there. I don't think that means we haven't done an honest assessment of what the safety is because we've had all those independent bodies looking at it.
These are what we call anthropomorphic phantoms. They're basically plastic versions of human beings.
David Brenner says the TSA owes it to the public to be more forthcoming.
So in theory, this would react to a radiation source much as a human body would.
Very much as a human body would.
He says a phantom test is the most accurate way to measure the radiation dose emitted.
Well, these are not easy measurements to make at all. In fact, they're really hard measurements to make. And that's why really you need the whole scientific community contributing to try and make sure that we understand what's going on inside these machines. There's a lot of uncertainty, I think, right now, and that's because very few people have had access to doing these measurements.
I would like to, in collaboration with Dr. Brenner, figure out how we're actually going to measure the dose. It's not trivial.
Arizona State University physicist Peter Rez worries about the uncertainty as well. And after carefully scrutinizing backscatter images, he's also concerned about the efficacy of the machines.
So what the machines detect is edges. And that becomes the anomaly that they go after. What they cannot do is to differentiate between a high explosive and human tissue.
The TSA won't comment on the capabilities or vulnerabilities of its screening devices. But the so-called underwear bomb, nearly detonated on a flight to Detroit by Umar Farouk Abdul Muttalib on Christmas Day 2009, would very likely have gone undetected by backscatter X-rays. Ironically, it was that incident that hastened the decision to use backscatter scanners at U.S. airports.
Yes, that's certainly our goal, is to be able to develop a system where you can leave your chute completely on.
By that time, Steve Smith had already sold his invention to Rapiscan, so now he's trying to get back in the game. He runs a small company working on a new generation of backscatter scanners that are smaller and, he says, more accurate. He says his critics are in the dark.
So they're not making an informed argument, you think?
No, they are clearly not making an informed argument.
Should they be given that information, or is there no way to do that?
The issue of what information you can release to third parties regarding security equipment is, of course, a very touchy situation.
The scientists who are critical of backscatter scanners would not disagree they are uninformed. In fact, they say that is precisely the point.
It's Science Thursday on our website. Among other things, you'll find a follow-up conversation on the body scanners between Miles O'Brien and Hari Srinivasan.
And throughout these protests, it seems police have not hesitated to use pepper spray to subdue protesters. One of the most infamous uses of the weapon was during the police crackdown on protesters in California at UC Davis. So are police going too far in their use of pepper spray? Are they going beyond what the product was intended for? And what would the person that created pepper spray have to say about the recent use of it by police? Well, we have him in our studio right now to tell us. Cameron Logman is the inventor of modern pepper spray. Cameron, thanks for coming on the show today. Just want to get your reaction to how your invention is being used by law enforcement today.
Well, his intention was to subdue and take control of individuals who are combatant, who are a threat to others, police officers or bystanders, or they're going to damage property. It was not really designed to attack or subdue or shock people who are peaceful.
And, we'll show you an example of how it is being used. We'll play this video for you. It's of police using pepper spray on demonstrators at the Occupy Wall Street protest in New York. Now, Cameron, what is going through your mind when you see images like that?
Well, I mean, the first thing I see is absolute lack of leadership and control, because there are a lot of intelligent police officers and police leadership, and I don't know where they are, because I've dealt with them for years. And I think if they put their minds together, they can do a better job. This situation does not warrant the use of pepper spray or chemical agents.
Okay, and so you're saying your intent beyond the invention, or for the invention, was for combatant situations. We've seen pepper spray used over and over again throughout the Occupy Wall Street movement. I mean, in any case, do you see that its use has been justified?
Well, I mean, right now it's all over the place. It's obviously it's not being justified in many situations. I'm sure there are isolated situations where crime is going on and it's justified. For the last 20 years, pepper spray has been a great tool for saving lives of people. Let's say if somebody's under the influence of narcotics or alcohol. The police officer wants to take him out of the car. They want to take him to jail. They spray him quickly because the person is very combative. He's being physically aggressive, or they're being dangerous. And pepper spray in that kind of situation has been helpful. Even in there were situations where people were going to commit suicide, and pepper spray stopped them from doing that. But the situation we see today is unlike anything I've seen in the last 2 decades. And pepper spray has never been used like that worldwide. And the use of it is just is not according to any use of force policy by any police department.
Now, as the inventor of pepper spray, can you explain to us how exactly it works, how people physiologically respond to it?
Well, it's designed to what it does. It's designed to cause inflammation of mucous membranes. That means anywhere that is moist in your body. Let's start with the eyes. The first thing that happens, you feel intense burning sensation in the eyes, and the eyelids inflame. You don't really see it inflame, but it inflames and it shuts, so you can't really open your eyes. It's not that you tear, you really can't open your eyes. So that's the difference between tear gas and pepper spray. Tear gas, you tear, whereas pepper spray, you close your eyes. The other thing is that you will have difficulty in breathing. You start coughing severely. And the last one is that intense burning sensation of the skin. When all these three combine, people basically give up.
So, I mean, it sounds like it does inflict a certain amount of pain on whoever it's being used on.
It affects a lot of them, intense amount.
Okay, well, I want to play this clip for you. One Fox News host gave her analysis of what pepper spray is and how it works.
First of all, pepper spray, that just burns your eyes, right?
Right. I mean, it's like a derivative of actual pepper. It's a food product, essentially.
So you would know more than anybody else. I mean, is pepper spray essentially a food product?
Well, I mean, it's partially correct. It starts with chili pepper or capsicum pepper. But by the time you go formulate that, it goes through too many mutations and development and formulation, and it becomes so fortified and magnified with chemicals and alcohols and waters and propellants and gases that the end product, I mean, it's nothing to do with food product. It's like pharmaceuticals and the end product. Aspirin comes from bark of a tree, but necessarily you're not eating bark of a tree, you're eating aspirin. That's the difference.
So at this point, it's so far removed from the actual food product.
Yes, let's say the father was chili pepper, but the end product is no longer.
So it's no longer a food product at this
you
point.
can't put it on your pizza and eat it.
So, you're seeing how your invention is being used today. Do you regret inventing pepper spray?
Not at all, because I think that for the last 20 years, as I mentioned, saves a lot of lives. I think in the future it will save a lot of lives. I just again repeat, I think I've trained more than 4,000 police officers in this country and certified them in the use of pepper spray. I think there are some police officers that are losing control. I think that the leadership out there is not doing things according to use of force training manual that I have seen, and I have trained in every state, municipality, corrections department that I've seen out there. I mean, it's not on the books. They're doing something out of the books.
So what needs to be done in order to get pepper spray to get back to its intended use?
Well, I think that we need that's one of the reasons I'm here, is to send a message out there that you need to go back to the use of force policy. And I think as far as the people are in the street are concerned, I think we need wisdom and leadership. That's what we need. I mean, we are losing intelligence here.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on this. That was the inventor of pepper spray.
Almost 5,000 people have been arrested during Occupy protests across the U.S. so far, but even the police are starting to defect to the other side. Our correspondent Marina Portnaya has been finding out why some people have been choosing to make history instead of making arrests. Occupy Wall Street has become an undeniable American household name. And police crackdowns against the Democratic movement have become something of the norm. Not so normal is seeing one side endorse the other. Retired Philadelphia police captain Ray Lewis became the game changer on November 17th. Arrested while demonstrating with Occupy protesters on the streets of New York City. The 24-year veteran was held in police custody for 11 hours and received one comment from a New York cop.
Nobody spoke to me. This one individual said that I had the testicles of an elephant.
Although all of America's police force is part of the 99%, Captain Lewis says cops secretly supporting OWS face dire consequences by going public.
A tremendous fear of losing their job, being disciplined, being fired. And then what do? Everybody in the 99% has that fear. And police officers also. They cannot risk. They have children, they have wives. What would they do? Once they're fired, there are no jobs available.
The nighttime raid on Zuccotti Park and subsequent arrest of dozens of journalists covering the story are among many reasons Captain Lewis says he temporarily transplanted to Manhattan.
That's close to dictatorship. When you exclude the media, that's what dictators around the world do, and that is very scary.
Brutal scare tactics such as pepper spray, batons, and flash grenade canisters have been used against Occupy camps throughout the U.S. Oakland, California resembles something of an urban war zone this fall, leaving a war vet in critical condition and the eyes of an 84-year-old burning from tear gas. Oakland police officer Fred Chavez is the only active cop who's gone on record with his support.
I totally agree with Occupy Wall Street, even to an extent with Occupy Oakland. I am a part of the 99%. For the most part, people are peaceful and they want to see change.
Many believe the biggest change could come when or if U.S. law enforcement officials stop suppressing the right to assemble and begin supporting it. Despite his arrest, Captain Lewis is back at Zuccotti Park showing unwavering support for the Occupy movement. Standing roughly 10 or 15 feet away from him, a group of New York City police officers. Yes, they're here securing the area, but some are beginning to show a little interest.
For the first time, I had an officer break ranks yesterday at the barricade line. A white officer named Officer Murray, and he introduced himself and he started asking me a few questions. I said, "Do you know the risk you're taking?" And he was so brave that he said, "Hey, this is still America, and until a supervisor orders me back to the line, I'm going to talk with you." I hope to get mainstream America involved, the police involved, realizing that we're all victims of corporate America, and that corporate America has got to be stopped.
Marina Portnaya, RT, New York.
And so, when you come to America, you meet so many nice people. And it's an incredible country in so many ways. But it's being systematically destroyed, militarily and financially, to bring it under the heel of a world government dictatorship. If you want a world government dictatorship and you want control of the planet over every country and every people, you cannot have superpowers with the financial and military might to say no to you. So ironically, while we're seeing this slaughter, while we're seeing all these wars of conquest, we're seeing the country that's set up to be the fall guy doing them, because, you know, so many of the guns shot by America, symbolically and literally, are actually loaded in Europe with the center of this global secret society network. So America is being used to destroy itself. And you know, every year, if you add in all the costs of the American military, all the hidden costs, this country, when people increasingly are living in tent cities, are losing their homes, are losing their jobs, are losing their livelihoods, this country is spending in excess of $1 trillion a year on the military and overseas acts of slaughter and conquest. And surely it's time, surely before this process is complete, this delusion is complete, that Americans in vast numbers look collectively in the mirror as a nation and say, hold on, have we been had here? Are we really the good guy, John Wayne, sorting out the bad guys? Or are we just using that program to justify the most outrageous, stomach-turning mass murder that is getting more and more blatant all the time? Because until these programs, the God program and the John Wayne program, are deleted and diluted, so many Americans will go on being manipulated to support action that ironically is designed to destroy the country they think they stand for, and to destroy the economy and the military that they thought was the strongest in the world. America is bankrupt. It's absolutely bankrupt. And until people start to realize that it's all been systematically done, then the job will be completed. I know some people might not like what I've said. Really, I don't mind. I don't care. I'm not here to win a popularity contest. I just want to say something because I think it needs saying. That is an illusion. And everything that's followed it has been an illusion in the sense of the self-identity of America as it's been programmed to Americans to believe in. And until we kind of take a step back and redefine self-identity of America and see what the game really is, persuading the people that America is the good guy, John Wayne, so that Americans will support this grotesque nonsense and mass killing, then, like I say, the job will be completed. It doesn't have to be. It's still our choice, but only just.